Hello and welcome to album review number 23. Today I'm going to be reviewing Presto by Rush, released in 1989, sorry. It is the band's 13th studio album. I do apologise for the lack of videos I've been releasing recently. I just haven't quite been in the mood, and if you're not in the mood for making videos, then they're not going to be as good. And I'll probably do another video tomorrow. I think I'm going to do a list, so that should be good. I haven't done a list in a few months. Anyway, let's get right into it. This album marked a change in the band's musical direction. It sort of moved the band back into the more rock sort of style of the 70s, early 80s, and away from the more synthy, sort of softer rock of the sort of previous albums, especially Hold Your Fire. And I'm a I'm a big fan of this decision. Alex Lifeson, it was mainly his like sort of driving force that sort of to make this decision. He demanded that the next albums, or the next album anyway, have more guitar, and Geddy and Neil obviously obliged, and it's definitely a really good decision, because they with Hold Your Fire, the previous album, is definitely one of Rush's weakest albums, if not their single weakest. It's not even rock. It's too soft. It's too sort of synthy, but not synthy in that sort of the way Signals was like. It's just slow synth. It's a bit dull, you know. But this album sort of kicks the band sort of back into life, and it's a really good idea to go in this musical direction. I think it's much more alternative. I think Rush were inspired by the sort of grunge movement and the alternative movement of the late 80s, and they sort of were inspired by that and tried to incorporate some of that into their music, and I think it works in their own special way. You know, I'm not saying it sounds anything like Nirvana or Pearl Jam, but it's still very much Rush, but it's their own unique spin on it. Track 1, Show Don't Tell, and after a slow sort of introductory drum beat, you immediately realize that this is a new kind of Rush. If you were to listen to each of their albums in chronological order, you would notice the sort of synthy trend of the albums before this. But as soon as Show Don't Tell starts, it's like, okay, this is obviously the guitars are much more in it. It's funkier, it's more fast paced, it's more upbeat, and it works. It works. I really like Show Don't Tell. I think it's a great opening track. I just love how sort of upbeat and fast paced it is, and I like that it was a sort of defiant sort of comeback after the previous album, which was pretty disappointing. Track 2 is Chain Lightning, and that's probably one of 2 tracks on the album that I don't think are very good. There's 11 tracks on the album, and I'm not a fan of this one and another one later on in the album that we'll get to. So I don't really have much to say about Chain Lightning. I think it's pretty weak. Track 3 is The Pass, which is one of the best on the album and probably one of Rush's best songs ever. It sort of showed that this new kind of music that they were incorporating could be done on not only the sort of upbeat, sort of fast-paced, sort of more optimistic sort of scale. Like if you listen to the first 2 tracks, they're very quite upbeat, but this kind of fast-paced. Well, track 3, The Pass, is much slower, much, I guess, a bit more melancholy, and it sort of shows that even though the music's more guitar oriented, they could sort of continue to do those melancholy songs that they kind of did in the 80s. You know, songs like Mystic Rhythms, some of the tracks from Hold Your Fire, I guess pretty much the entire Grace Under Pressure album's pretty melancholic. They could continue to do that, but with this new sound, and it very much works. It wasn't just like they were all just going to do nice, wee, happy sort of upbeat tracks from now on. You know, there are some. It's mainly I would say a pretty optimistic album, pretty upbeat. I'd say it's probably their most upbeat album since probably Signals or Moving Pictures. But in fact, even they had some pretty sad and pretty dark songs like Witch Hunt and Losing It. But you know, I'd say it's pretty uplifting album, but the sad moments are still very good. And The Pass has great lyrics. It's it's quite layered as well. It's got sort of multiple sort of little bits to it, and they do repeat, but there are sort of a few parts that you can sort of notice. Track 4 is Warpaint, which is quite again another quite upbeat one, well, very upbeat actually. And I've always liked it. I think a lot of Rush fans maybe don't like it, but I've always thought it was a really nice song. I've always liked the uplifting lyrics. It's got a sing along sort of quality to it, you know. The mirror always lies, that sort of thing. Girls and boys together, or is it boys and girls together? I don't know. So I've always liked Warpaint, especially the lyrics. Track 5, Scars. That's my personal favourite. Mainly it's that bass line, that Geddy Lee bass line that just sort of takes up the entire song basically. The song is completely driven by the bass line. The guitar and the drums are just complete accompaniment. I guess this was Geddy Lee not quite willing to let go of the reins just yet in terms of the musical direction. Obviously throughout Alex and Geddy have always been the more musical people. Well, Neil's, I assume he sort of writes his own specific rhythmic textures, but he's always been much more the lyrical guy. Well, Geddy and Alex write the melodies, but I think here, I assume Geddy probably wrote this bass line, and you can see in this music that the song, sorry, that the sort of control that he had throughout the previous albums of it being much more synth heavy and more bass heavy, with the guitar sort of not being in it very much. He's not quite willing to let that go just yet, and that's fine because it's a fantastic song. I just love that bass line, and I really like the lyrics as well. Track 6, Presto, title track. This is another one I've always liked. I just love how uplifting it is. You know, Rush I think are really good at the dark songs when they do them, but most of their stuff is pretty uplifting, and I've always liked that about them. You know, not all music has to be really dark, like, you know, King Crimson and stuff like that. Like King Crimson and Van der Graaf Generator, they have their really uplifting moments as well. But Rush, you know, the darker moments are more sort of rare for them. But Presto is one of those Rush songs that's just really uplifting, lovely to listen to. I love the acoustic guitar during the chorus. I really like the lyrics. Track 7, Superconductor, is the other one that I don't particularly like. I don't really have much of an opinion on it. I just don't think it's that good. Track 8, Anagram. This one's quite interesting because every time I listen to the album, I kind of forget about this track. I know I like it because, you know, whenever I listen to it, I always think, oh, I remember liking this one, but I can never quite remember how it goes. Well, songs like The Past, Presto, Scars, I can always immediately remember. But this one I always think, I've kind of forgotten how that goes. And then when I listen to it, I go, oh yeah, it goes like that. And I'm sort of pleasantly surprised. And it's kind of nice having those special songs from time to time that you kind of forget about every time you listen to them. And then you're sort of reminded of them again when you listen to them again. It's a nice feeling. It's kind of like listening to it again for the first time in a way. Track 9 is Red Tide, which immediately hooks you with the piano. I'd say it's probably the most synthy song on the album, and probably the most reminiscent of like sort of Grace Under Pressure era. It's kind of got that vibe to it. Sort of the synth is quite layered in this album. This song, sorry. One thing I do like about the whole album, Presto, is that it doesn't completely just, you know, strip away everything that the previous albums had. It holds on to some of that, but transitions into something new, and I think that makes for a much smoother musical transition than just going, right, we're gonna completely change the music. You know, you need to transition, you know, like Dark Side of the Moon to Animals or whatever, or say Wish You Were Here to The Wall. Say the Animals had to be in the middle to sort of transition between the two, otherwise it probably wouldn't have sounded as good. The Wall, I mean, if they'd gone straight from what Wish You Were Here sounded like to trying to do what The Wall would have sounded like, it wouldn't have sounded as good without that Animals being in the transitionary album. And I think that happens with most albums. That's usually the way it goes, I think. Track 10, Hand Over Fist. This is one I really like. I absolutely love the lyrics of this one. It's probably my favourite lyrics on the album. I personally think the lyrics are kind of about sort of getting rid of or giving up on violent urges and sort of that, and giving into more sort of peaceful, sort of loving sort of feelings. The lyrics go something like, I feel my spirit resist, but I open up my fist. Sort of like, instead of doing that, he's gonna like hold the hand. So that sort of thing. I think that's what it's about. I've gone on songmeanings.com, and a lot of people have different opinions on it, but I've always thought that's what the song was about. And it's good, great music as well. It's good, very emotional, very beautiful track. I think track 11, Available Light, is the moody sort of finale, and there are definitely sort of uplifting parts like the chorus, and the wind can carry. That's that part, but it's quite moody, and I'd say it kind of sets up the sort of album after it. The slightly moodier parts are Roll the Bones. You definitely know what you're going to get next with this album. I think there's definitely transitions into Roll the Bones, and then Roll the Bones had some parts that transitioned into Counterparts. Counterparts had the heavy metal, and that sort of kept going from there. But Available Light's good because it's one of the sort of few Rush albums that sort of end with a sort of darker song. Especially if they're more alternative stuff. Roll the Bones, Counterparts, and Test for Echo all end with quite uplifting songs, I think, if I can remember. So it's quite unique to see a more sort of darker song that sort of ends with a Rush album during the more alternative era. But anyway, that was album review number 23. I hope you enjoyed it, and I don't know what album I'll review next. I never really do. But this is my second Rush review, so I might do another King Crimson one, or maybe another Van de Graaff Generator one. I don't know, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you next time.